This has officially been the worst state of play in history yet. We all know that Sony's not stopping. While Microsoft was destroying itself with wokeness, Sony was kind of getting a little bit of those good boy points. At least they were not completely out of the loop at that point. But now Sony's going all in, and it's not getting better anytime soon. So chances are next year is gonna be worse. And this year has already been absolutely devastating. Let's be real. This is a Mr. Matty video. And this is supposed to be your toxic positivity takes. And look at the comments here. Next Netflixization of media. The Quirk Chungus dialogue was really off-putting to me too. That writing for Laufey ain't it. The second the cube called Laufey boss, it's kind of set me off. There's no way in a mythology setting that would be said. It's bad. It is bad. This has been the full concord of Sony at this point. Every single big release of a game has been absolutely slandered by people because it just doesn't look good. And granted, the pushback also has been legendary at this point, but thankfully, they're never gonna succeed with this. Let's be real. Gamers do not represent normies. The vast majority of gamers, the super majority of gamers, are not normies. They will look at something like God of War, Laufey, Warwife, or whatever the fuck she's called, and they're gonna be like, nah, I'll pass. Nah, I'll pass. Boys, represent down in the comment section how much money you have already saved by passing on this type of garbage. So one person commented once that he already saved $300 just by not buying the slop because we call it out. It's pretty insane. And again, it's not gonna get better anytime soon. PlayStation is truly doing things.
I was already grateful that my day began with a Toy Story 3 remaster announcement. I actually thought this was a troll announcement when it happened, but that set the tone for my day. I went, hey, anything can happen today. Because if I'm getting Toy Story remasters, specifically we're bringing back Toy Story 3, literally anything can be announced. I see the Sly Cooper.
Do you think they're gonna F it up in some way? Because let's be real, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting a modernization of Toy Story. I haven't watched the new movies, but people say they're horrible as far as I know. They're really not good. They are not even close to what the original first and second Toy Story were like. It's just bad.
Rumors. I see PlayStation hosting this state of play in a theater space. I'm like, it's got to at least have a couple of bangers here that they want the PlayStation community together for. Largely speaking, this was quite disappointing as a state of play, but my biggest problem, my biggest takeaway from this...
Wolverine, Marvel's Wolverine, should I say, has been completely trashed because of Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement.
Is that their exclusives are starting to overlap in more ways than one. We always used to joke about the, the third person, over the shoulder, open world stuff, right? There was a similar presentation style, but now between what we saw with things like Wolverine and God of War, this new Faye game, is there's an overlap even going into gameplay mechanics. Like what I saw for Wolverine that I thought was cool because it was building off of what I really enjoyed in 007 was now carrying into God of War Faye, and I'm starting to see this overlap between presentation and now gameplay mechanics, writing style, through all these...
Overlaps between writing style? Hell no! Get Alana Pierce out of my games. I am so tired. She is the she-devil of gaming at this point, okay? It is what it is. Terrible. Completely destroys everything. And the sad part, by the way, about this, looks like a fun game. But it's sadly going to be ruined by modern-day isms and whatnot. You know it's going to be bad.
PlayStation first-party studios games, and it's one of the reasons it started to push me away. A lot of people always ask me, like, Maddie, why don't you play Horizon? Why don't you play God of War? It's just like a blurred image in my head. They all kind of just mush together a little bit because they're so similar. And so when I was watching this massively built-up God of War Faye gameplay reveal, which was mostly cinematics, I'm sitting here and going like, man, like it's holding R2 and it's a lot of the stuff we've seen before. And I guess Sony Santa Monica is just going to keep making the same style of game, even with a different main character, except it seems to be written way worse.
A worse main character.
course, it's the same exact thing that kept me away from God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Ghost of Yotei. These are games that I did not play. And with respect to this type of game being a lot of people's cup of tea, this is a feeling I've
Wait. Didn't Matty said good things about Yotei?
had for most of the generation, and it just really came to a head here for me during the showcase. And why is that? Well, these games just already overlap so heavily in how they're shot, their art direction, the very gameplay camera. But now I'm starting to even see mild gameplay overlaps. Like, it feels as if PlayStation First Party had a big meeting with all their studios and said, hey, this is something we're doing in one of our games, and then the others copied.
True. This is true. You know why you cannot see any innovation in these modern slop titles? It's very simple. It's like Tolkien said, evil cannot create, it can only corrupt. And this is what we're seeing. If you're wondering why all of these things do seem extremely similar, honestly, to one another, in the mechanics, in the portrayal, and everything, that's why. These people have no idea how to create anything interesting, unique, and fun. So they're just kind of going for the Star Wars Grogu approach. Here's a thing that people liked, Grogu. Now everyone fucking gets a Grogu. That's what's happening here. It's that simple.
Their homework. Like, I see the co-op attacks that are used in Wolverine between Logan and Jean Grey also being used between Faye and Cube. I know individually this is all well and fine, but this is an entire...
I love, by the way, how someone commented in the last Faye video about the fact that the ribbons and Cube are gonna solve all of your puzzles before you can even look at them, because you know it's gonna be true. You know it's gonna be true. They're gonna tell you how to solve the puzzles before you even see the puzzle.
Publishing label defined by their presentation now. When it really blurs even more now into gameplay, you just completely lose my attention. As I'll talk about Wolverine a little bit, I really did like what I saw. I mean, my reaction does speak for itself, but I'm completely pulling from X-Men Origins Wolverine, the tie-in game. By that I mean, it hits a very specific memory of mine, and that's the main driving force of my excitement. However, to round out my point here, I do think it's just a matter of I've been out on this type of game for a while, and I've just accepted that this sort of what we would call a more mainstream third-person AAA game isn't really for me. And I say all this because just give me until the Xbox showcase this week, and you'll hear me say how I would happily take another New Vegas again, which, when you break it all down, is a reskin of Fallout 3 with much better writing and systems. With that said, though, I haven't got that.
You know what has always bothered me about these takes, about these channels that pretty much can't even admit that wokeness exists? But yet somehow, some magically how, boys, New Vegas is superior to Fallout 3 in the writing and everything. So they're able to distinguish between better things and worse things, but yet wokeness and, things like that just don't exist some magically how. It has always been very off-putting to me.
Type of Fallout game in over a decade. I feel like almost every year I get multiple of this type of game. That said, as I'll get into, there's a lot of stuff I did end up liking when I was tabbing through the showcase, reminding myself of everything that was there, because a lot of my brain was focused on this new Faye game. I was like, okay, there were a few things here I liked, but what this thing was really missing was a true surprise. There was one surprise, I wouldn't call it like the most pleasant one, like, oh yes, but it was one that I joked about on stream, like, oh, imagine this is what this game is, and it actually ended up being a sequel to that game, which, again, was not really ready for that. But otherwise, that was the big thing missing for me. It started really strong, had a lot of excitement going in, but overall, I found this state of play to be a pretty big miss, and I think it's fair to say that expectations rise in June. You know, this is where we have all the memories of E3, the announcements of Dreams happen, and leaving behind the emotion of the moment and just thinking less about the summer and more of the fact that PlayStation did host in-person viewings for this. Like, they had theater spaces reserved for this. I think it's also fair to say that my expectations were a lot higher than your traditional showcase, because they were kind of ramping it up in that way too. Like, ignoring all the rumors, ignoring all the leaks. They were doing something in person for the first time in a really long while. Nonetheless, hope you all are doing excellent. I'm here to maybe save you a little time and go over some of the things I thought were cool during the showcase. We're not going to do our usual, like, here's every single game there, because frankly, again, a lot of this was just updates on things that already existed. So to keep things a little bit, balanced here.
Okay, boys. Honestly, go in the comments and write out now the thing that you are excited about. There's no wrong answers here, but I just want to know, is anyone really excited about anything? Okay, Toy Story does not count because that seems good, but we don't know anything about it. And the way that the Toy Story movies have been turned to absolute fucking slop, I have a feeling, obviously, the game's also gonna be like that, to the surprise of probably very few.
Before I get into everything that I thought was kind of disappointing, I want to focus on what I did like. Wolverine. I grew up playing a ton of X-Men video games, starting with like X2 Wolverine's Revenge. But
Oh
what we saw
no.
today from Insomniac really did remind me of
Oh.
X-Men Origins Wolverine, one of the most goated tie-in movie games, just full of gore and dismemberment and just, oh my God. I mean, this game was sick. I love the environmental interaction. Again, it reminded me of literally the game I beat today, 007 First Light, where you're just grabbing people, dragging them into walls. This started really in my brain.
The discount Batman Arkham Combat, by the way, is starting to piss a lot of people off who did play 007 First Light. Also, if you have missed my videos, it's official. It's a failure. It's 100% a failure, no matter what. 007 First Light has not sold even half. Well, I do think it has sold 2 million copies, but that's, well, maybe 2.1 million at this point. You know, it's getting up there, probably. 2 million, I think, is reasonable. But it needs probably 4 or 4.5 minimum to start breaking even and making money. So, 007 First Light is a disaster.
With things like sleeping dogs, and I just like that in combat. So when you're throwing people against walls and you're just stabbing away, I thought that looked amazing. I was looking for a little bit more dismemberment.
Also, boys, looking at this, I have to say,
Here, it seemed like the basic attacks aren't.
if I was ever to make a game, you know what I would have if it's a power fantasy? I would have a move where you just take someone by the hand or leg or whatever, and then just not hit them in the ground, but hit them in a concrete slab like that where their spine goes. That is what I want to see in gaming. Tell me that's not super best.
Really doing the dismemberment. So I don't know if that's like an upgrade you get, or if it's just not there yet, or if it's just going to be a bloodbath and that's it. I don't know if that's actually going to be a thing when it comes to dismemberment outside of like set specific cinematic sequences. But if it's actually going to happen in gameplay, we got the confirmation that this was a narrative-driven action-adventure game. I was actually quite pleased to hear this because I was a little bit worried, again, with the kind of mold we're seeing form around a lot of these games. Like, oh, this has to be open world. I didn't think it made sense to have a Wolverine open world video game. I think action-adventure makes a lot more sense. Now, does this mean there won't be zones to explore? I'm sure there will be points where you can stretch your legs a little bit, but I like the idea that this is just a balls-to-the-wall action video game. I think that sounds like a great fit for Wolverine. We got to see.
It would be, but let's be real. Considering Jean Grey is your companion in this game, there's no way it's not gonna be a cuck simulator. Wolverine's situation with Jean Grey has never been anything else but that, pretty much. Well, I guess in the new comics, he kind of was. I'm not even sure. The new ones are questionable. But let's be real. Considering it's Jean Grey, it's gonna be a simulator. Is there really a world where that doesn't happen? Do you really think that's not gonna happen?
Jean Grey show up, her first official appearance. I know she leaked a while ago.
Yep, and this is absolute nightmare fucking fuel, Lamau. Oh boy. Oh boy, this is not it.
But it was really cool seeing her appear. Like, we got to see Sabretooth in action, Mystique in action, so just a lot of cool shit.
Mystique also looks like a dried up raisin.
This, man, like, as someone who grew up again with a lot of X-Men stuff and still loves Wolverine to this day, still read the occasional Wolverine comic, not as often as I like to, I've been really pleased with what's here. My only worry isn't the right word, but my only hope is that Insomniac doesn't just go exclusively into the Marvel Games route, because they were a very good specific fit in my brain for Spider-Man with Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 has officially also failed, so there you go.
From there, though, I wasn't like, okay, hand them every Marvel game. So I do hope they continue to do things like it was already leaked, Ratchet and Clank, or other new IP, and they're not just going to become the Marvel studio. But it's looking like they just really get these heroes, and I'm keen to see how this story develops. But I thought this was a great way to open things, and certainly got me on a high. I'm like, anything can happen now. I'm getting Wolverine, Toy Story stuff. This is awesome. Other games that stood out to me that I thought looked cool. Silent Hill Townfall gets the Silent Hill buff. It's not really the traditional Silent Hill. I like third person character driven stuff where it's just real psychological horror. This is more of a first person Outlast kind of driven experience, it seems like, where
I guess this is actually good. I haven't checked it out too much, but I guess this could be at least nice.
you're more defenseless. And so I'm interested purely from a story angle. I want to see what this game brings to the table. It's definitely a more experimental looking Silent Hill video game. I like the kind of technological aesthetic they went with here, more like 90s beige tech. I think that looks really cool. But it's really always going to come down to the story. That's what makes these Silent Hill games tick. When it comes to gameplay, it doesn't look like this has too much of that. It looks like a lot of running and hiding, which can either be great or really annoying. It's no real fine line there. It's just like one or the other. And if it works, it'll be terrifying. But if it doesn't, then that's going to really suck. But we'll see. I just always am interested in what Silent Hill's up to, because to me, that series is literal art. Speaking of kind of survival horror things, Ill by Munfish. This is the development team who made games like Atomic Heart, and boy, are they making a lot of that. But here comes this other game that they announced a while ago. I believe it was at one of the Keighley shows. But this continues to look really, really good, really gross, really unsettling. So I'm very into what's happening here. It's one of those great psychological survival horror experiences, it seems like, where I don't know what's happening. I just want in because it looks gross and fun and scary and unsettling, and I'm there for that. Last game that I thought was really cool looking, Ace Combat.
If it's a flying sim we already know it's gonna have an audience, but a flying sim at the end of the day. Though granted, Turismo whatever did really good, so who knows? Maybe that is also good.
And of course, we'll wrap up with what kind of disappointed me, the overarching conversation here for the state of play. But really, it solidified, like, man, I do want to play this game, but everything's being crammed into September and October. Everything. I mean, this is just one showcase, and we already knew what was coming in September. It looks like a bloodbath. There's just not enough gamers. There's just not enough gamers to cover all these games. So there's going to be some great stuff that for all of us slips through the cracks. And Ace Combat, unfortunately, may be one of those games. It's like, okay, I don't have much of an attachment to that like I do Wolverine. We're hearing rumors that Gears sell well, and they're putting it in the busiest month of the year. So I'm wishing them the best of luck, even though Control Resonant does look great. But anyway, those are
this is the new Control game where they switch the main character from a woman to a man for some reason now. I mean, we're getting so many mixed signals. In any case, people did say that Control was a decent game. Again, I have seen it, but I don't remember anything about it. So I'm gonna take your word, guys, that it was a decent game. I haven't seen this, but the fact that they just switched... if this was a decent game and they switched from a female character to a male character main, that's kind of iffy also. And also, this... I don't know, maybe I should look into it.
the things that I did like from the showcase. Anything that surprised me, like I mentioned earlier, it was really missing the surprise factor. The only one that was there was from a chat interaction. Is someone wrote in specifically saying, man, I hope we get a new Stuntman game. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like this random fucking racing game. Oh, shit. There's a new Stuntman video game, and it looks awesome. And when I saw it was Saber Interactive, I'm like, well, this is a company, I say with all due respect, that's allergic to new IP. They're always inheriting other IP, like they're doing an Avatar game, they're doing Star Wars games, they're doing every IP under the sun, it seems like. So this has...
Saber Interactive, is that a third Star Wars game that's probably going to get cancelled, or is this one of the older... Fate of the Old Republic, or what was the other one called? If both of them are fucked. But was it Saber Interactive responsible for any of them?
Had to be something that was not theirs, but a new Stuntman game I did not expect, and I thought that was a kind of cool surprise. It actually looked pretty sweet, and I remember Stuntman from back then, so good times on that. The only other surprise that was here, and I wouldn't say it was the most like,
oh, we're gonna talk about this. This is so bad. This is so bad. People are looking at this and it's like, bro, how did you make a game that looks worse than Starfield? Considering how good actually the first one looked, which was more than 15 years ago at this point? Oh no, this is definitely not it. In any case, Oh, he's still gonna talk about Laufey. Is he gonna actually mention it? Oh, no, 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 Maddie. What are you doing?
But this is basically just more God of War. Now, I have to acknowledge, this is what a lot of people want. I have to
Is it, though? Is it?
also acknowledge I played God of War in, 2018, thought it was great. Never played Ragnarok because that was the beginning of the blur. But the main difference here, from my point of view, is aerial combat, right? Which even to some extent...
Oh, he's not gonna bring it up. He's not gonna bring it up. Weakness. Weakness. Anyway, that was Mr. Maddie Plays, by far probably the worst state of play we have ever gotten, which is impressive because the hopium is not high in the community in general. But man, this was bad. In any case, thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye. That was Mr. Maddie Plays. Bye.